I, 27F, had been dating my boyfriend, 30M, for almost a year and a half. When we first started dating, it was so magical. My friends would call us goals, and he was so amazing to me and would wait on my hand and foot, do anything for me, to me, etc. We lived about 2 hours away, met online, and would see each other about twice a week, me going down once during the week because of my job schedule and him coming down on the weekends because of his job schedule. After about 6 months, things started to get more serious and I was contemplating if we should move in together or as if one of us should move closer. He still lived close to his family, where I didn't live anywhere near my family, so that was one contender on me being the one to make the move. I had a really good job and wasn't willing on giving that up for someone who wasn't as financially stable as me, so I asked him about his finances. This man lived in a very nice apartment and paid a pretty penny for it. When I asked him about how much he made a year, he asked me to answer first. I told him about $70,000 yearly. He answered $80,000 a year. I thought, wow, that's a good paying job. I would feel really bad about asking him to leave that job since he personally trains and I don't know anywhere where I live that would be able to pay him that much. So I moved down to him. Looking back, I shouldn't have felt as guilty as I did about asking him to move instead. We were both in agreement that I would move in with him when my lease was up. We had been together a little over a year when that had happened, but I am getting deployed soon and wanted to be closer to him, which is why it was sooner than I wanted it to be, and we both thought it would be easier than me getting my own place and then having to move all of my stuff into storage when I left for deployment. Less than a month before I move in, this man starts getting a little mean. I told him that I wasn't going to move in with him if he kept acting like that, and he told me that he was just nervous for when I move in because he has never moved in with anyone and that he will check himself. Okay, cool. We don't have too many problems after that. Except when I move in, then he starts trying to tell me what I am allowed to wear and who I am allowed to hang out with. And I am a female who has a lot of male friends. He knew this. Even when we first started dating, I was living with one of my good male friends. I have never cheated on him or anyone else for that matter. He had full reign of my phone whenever he wanted it and he used that. We never really got over that. I would try to talk to him about it and he would always say he was competitive. It got even worse when he tried to tell me the female friends I was allowed to hang out with because he didn't think some of them had his back in our relationship. That should have been the time I should have broken up with him. We had lived together for about 1 month at this point. None of this ever got worked out because he would say that I had to change and that being in a relationship meant changing for your partner. Where I would argue back and say you don't get into a relationship with someone to change them. I finally got sick of it and told him I was going to move out. We could work on things, but I just couldn't live with him anymore. He ended up changing his whole tune and stopped trying to tell me what to wear and who I could and couldn't hang out with. About a week later, he apologizes for the way he had acted when we first moved in together and said that he lost his job the month that we moved in together and he was extremely stressed out and didn't want me to leave him, which is why he didn't tell me initially. I am a very understanding person. I have done some dumb stuff in my life that he's been able to look past. His paycheck was not what had kept me. It was how he treated me the first year we were together, TBH. I told him I would help him find a new job and we could work together on writing his resume. Fast forward to about 2 weeks later, I told him that we needed to move out of his place because it was just too expensive and I wasn't comfortable paying that much in rent for what we had, and the property was about to raise our rent as well. We finally found a place and the landlord asked us for a pay stub. I told her that my boyfriend was just laid off and didn't have one, but my pay stub would be enough to be qualified anyways. The landlord said yes, but they would at least like a tax return from him to put on file, so I asked him for it. This man has never filed taxes. Actually, this man hasn't had an actual job in 4 years. I found out, after being together for over a year and moving my whole life, including my dog to live with him, that he has been lying to me the whole time. He didn't make $80,000 a year. He barely made $3,000 a month. He hasn't had insurance in 4 years, doesn't even pay his whole rent. His dad paid half of his rent for the 2 years he lived at that luxury apartment. I was baffled. Absolutely baffled. And extremely pissed off at him. I told him I needed to think about things, still holding on to the first year we were together, regretting the last 2 months that I had lived with him. I told him he was going to get a new job and that he had 1 month to get his life together or I was kicking him out. He wasn't allowed to put his name on the lease and that it was mine and mine alone, and when I went on deployment, I would switch our names on the lease and put my stuff into storage. He said he was fine with that and was grateful for me giving him another chance. It wasn't even that long until I found out he was going through my phone at night, while I was sleeping, and looking through messages from years ago when we weren't even together, and then tried to bring them up like I should be ashamed of them today, in our relationship. So I said, "Screw you, we're breaking up." Oh boy. Hold on to your hats. He said he was going to blackmail me to the military and that I was screwed. I gave him the middle finger and said, "I don't know what you have on me, if you even have anything on me at all, but I don't care." I started packing a bag and he dropped to his knees and cried to me that he was going to unalive himself if I left, and then proceeded to have a panic attack. Now I wanted to just call the cops and let them deal with it. But, and I hate myself for this, I stayed and made him calm down. I didn't even think about myself in that moment because I had never been put in that situation and I didn't want the guy to unalive himself. So I stayed for a couple of days and then I called his mom and let her know I was leaving and what he had threatened and that she needed to keep a close eye on him and probably come over after I left. What did the witch do? She blamed me for it, asked me why I wouldn't go to therapy with him, told me she wished we could work it out. And pretty much, I am blaming some of my delirious sigh on her because I really leaned on her when him and I were having problems, and now I am seeing she did not care about me like I thought she did. I hung up on her and still went and broke up with him. Again. Let's all laugh together. He talked me into staying. This last week I have been at my annual training for the military and I told him to not contact me while I'm here. And I finally did it. I called him and I just told him it was over, respect my boundaries and do not try and talk me out of it because we're over. I paid for a moving company to come and get my stuff the day I get home from military training, and I already have a new place to live so he doesn't know where I will be living. I am not proud of myself. After writing this and having my sister laugh at me for being a dummy and staying so long, I am pretty ashamed that I let him treat me like that and I just stayed. I really do love the guy, and this was my first breakup that didn't end because someone cheated on me. I am only used to toxic relationships, which is why it took me this long to finally do it. I was really holding on to the first year we were together. He was amazing to me and he still is amazing to my dog, which I will always treasure that. Another thing, he has a dog as well and our dogs are bonded, and that definitely was also a factor in me staying. Writing this out has definitely made me see I am making the right decision.